one of the things that we want to discuss again, we did this lecture again at Larry's at the La Unique bookstore, and there was a lot of people because work couldn't come, and then there was a lot of people from other states that couldn't come, and they have been communicating with us. One of the principles that we want to emphasize to the Moors is the importance of their nationality card. We want to emphasize the need and the necessity of Moors commanding the production of a nationality card by others who are claiming authority, and we want to expose the fraud of the driver's license. Most of you scientists already know the nature of it, but we want to make sure that the people get the nature of what this is all about so that they can become active in this movement, and not only become active in this movement, but become functionally active in the movement, meaning knowledge that they can work with, not to believe, but to know, and to use this knowledge to reclaim, redeem, and secure their unalienable or birthrights. And so, the subject before us is the fraud of a driver's license being used as an identification card. Part of the lecture will be including your participation with both questions and response for the purpose that we exchange knowledge. In other words, I don't want you to hear me and just accept what I'm saying. I want you to exchange knowledge so that we can be clear on why we're doing this, why this issue is important. We want you to understand what is being said. Don't accept what's being said. Understand what's being said. One of the most important things that we can do as a grand body of Moors is to begin to push the issue of demanding a national identification card. Are you following me? And the reason that we want to do that is because the lack of a national identification card allows them to continue the color of law or to violate our rights of movement, of self-authority, of economic progress, etc., etc., etc. Now, it must be understood, and this is redundant to many of you, but for those who do not know, a driver's license is an instrument that has its origin in the Excise Tax Act, 1909. And what it deals with is the movement of commercial goods and services. It does not deal with the natural person, which is why they will always say a person must have this, and a person must have that. But when they say person, it must be understood at law there's two types of person. And I'm going to speak slowly because anybody has notes, take notes, because it's important, because you're going to use this information for effectively things that we're going to be doing in the future. Many Moors are dealing with it already. Many Moors have dealt with it past tense, but we're going to be dealing with these issues in the future. So at law and in law, there's two types of person. When you hear the term made by any government official or any sub or pseudo-government official or sub-government agency saying a person must, or person shall, they're saying a corporation shall, a corporation must, an artificial person shall, an artificial person must. So whenever you hear them say the word person, know already they're referring to a corporation. Are we clear? If they don't say natural person, that statement applies to corporations only, not to the natural person. So I'm going to re-emphasize that there's two types of person in law. One is the artificial person, which is corporate, and the other is the natural person, which is the biological, breathing, thinking entity that you call yourself. So when someone says a person must do this, and a person must have this, and a person must have this contract, and a person must do this, and a person must have this paperwork, if you think that it means you, you're wrong. But it's presented to you that way for you to believe that it means you, so that you can be tricked into making a contractual agreement saying that you are Negro or a corporate person. And once you sign the contract becomes the law. And so they sue you on that contract. So understand how law comes about. In other words, you are the law. You are the sovereign. In any governmental structure, it is your bit of sovereignty given in allegiance to that said government that accumulates as the God power that a government executes relative to its regulation of the citizens in a corporate capacity, meaning that they cannot even hold a court over the general citizenry. Only the general citizenry can. Government don't really have that power. And where it is limited is in the judicial branch of that government. Are we clear? Licenses comes under legislative and statutory codes, which cannot be executed in a judicial court. Are we clear? They've been running corporate statutory courts under the authority of judicial powers, which is a constitutional violation. Are we clear? Licenses come under that crossover. Are we clear? So therefore, if, as an example, brother, if you were a foreigner, and you were operating in these territories or any other government's territories under corporate capacity for the benefit of your corporate operations of capital gains, excise taxation regulates that. Are we very clear? Under that auspices, licenses are given by officers of excise. That authority within government is limited to those persons and checked by the Constitution, dealing with manufactured goods and the movements of those goods. That's where license comes in. Are we clear? It does not apply to the common people nor to their conveyances. Are we clear? They did that out of the Christian Black Codes of 1724, adopted it into all the states in order to stagnate your movement, i.e. your economy. Are we clear? Now, in order to protect themselves from international lawsuits, and this is redundant again, but keep this in mind, they wrote that nomen in all capital letters because it does mean corporation. The deal is when they pass that instrument to you, you don't object and agree that that's you, therefore they use that contract against you. Do you understand? That's not an identity card, that's an excise taxpayer's card for corporate activity and the benefit that is derived from corporate activity. But because they wrote the name in all capital letters, they are protecting themselves legally and lawfully by saying they're communicating with the corporation. And you, if you don't know that and accept it, then you agree that you're a corporation and they regulate you accordingly. In other words, you gave up your birthright. Are we clear? Are we clear on how that operates? It's important that you understand this. Because when you understand that concept, you can go into a courtroom and beat tickets. Do you understand? You can go in a courtroom and dismiss charges. You don't need the judge to dismiss them. You can dismiss them. Are we clear? And it's important to understand one of the reasons the European set up the licenses was to steal your birthright. Now, the New Jersey Corporation, in concert with other corporate states, are trying to institute the driver's license as a legal identification card, too. And the reason they're doing that because